Are you new to cryptocurrencies? Hey, are you looking to buy some Bitcoin or some Dogecoin, but you don't know what exchange to use? Or are you just like me and just having to deal with the fact that exchanges are getting kicked in the butt by regulations lately? Today, we'll talk about just that, differences between centralized exchanges and decentralized exchanges, and why you should probably consider decentralized exchanges. Let's go.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is an exciting one, Double. I've been wanting to talk about exchanges for a while now. I'm glad we're doing it now, okay? Because exchanges is a big topic in the crypto space, right? You have maxis who are on the extreme end, right? And I don't think you should ever see Coinbase. Personally, I don't even think you should ever see Coinbase.
You've been trying to get me totally off of that thing too,
hey, look, man. If you're on Coinbase, it's on you, man. What can I say? But I think that this is a very cool topic, man, because it's good to know what are the different exchanges out there, right? And what it means for all of us who are using it, like you said, right? So, and of course, Stack is always here to drop that information. So, exchanges, first of all, I would just like to start by answering the simple question: what are exchanges? So we could say exchanges are a marketplace for cryptocurrencies. In this case, right? You have your New York Stock Exchange, which is a marketplace for stocks, commodities, right? So on and so forth. Same situation, right? Same deal applies here. Exchanges are a marketplace, or decentralized exchanges and centralized exchanges are a marketplace for cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin as well, right? So which cryptocurrencies or which exchange are you using? Centralized or decentralized exchanges?
Before we jump into that, I always like to go back and tell everybody, what are exchanges fixing, really, right? And why do we have Bitcoin? Why do we have cryptocurrencies? The goal of Bitcoin is for us to do peer-to-peer transactions without the need for a central
entity,
control, right?
Yeah,
central entity. And that's what Bitcoin brings us, right? Which then goes to the next question. You just answered that. What are exchanges, right? So are exchanges now supposed to be the middleman, or are they supposed to be providing that peer-to-peer that Bitcoin aims to provide us, that freedom that we should be getting? And those are the questions that a lot of people are not asking, and we've been starting to see the impact of big banks in the exchange space, where they're starting to create all these regulatory effects that are kicking companies like Voyager. Actually, Coinbase has a lawsuit going on right now. Get.io is you live in the United States. Is there the way of killing Bitcoin? So if you have your Bitcoin on an exchange, could that mean the end of your Bitcoin? You have to start thinking about that. What kind of exchange should you put your Bitcoin to actually secure it?
Absolutely. I will just follow up with that by saying, Bitcoin, right? And the idea behind Bitcoin and decentralization is there to solve some problems, right? Amongst those problems, you have things like privacy, right? And of course, decentralization, which is the big one. When it comes to decentralization and privacy, I think these are things that it is very important. It's very critical for every individual, right, to have that control of what is theirs. Ownership, right? I think ownership is a pillar of, really our society.
Yeah,
right? Of community. Yeah. It gives you that sense of, when you create value, right? And you get a reward for what that is, right? Whatever that is worth. That's more deeply psychological. We're not going to go in there. But for us to realize the true potential of Bitcoin, right, we have to change the things of the past. And one of those things is living the centralized system. So with the coming of centralized exchanges like Coinbase and many more, which we're going to go into here and show you the differences between centralized and decentralized exchanges, I think it is very important that we understand what happens when we use either one of these exchanges. So with no further ado, let's dive into some of this.
So regulations are supposed to be implemented to protect the consumers. But what we've been realizing, and I'm sure if you're paying attention to the space, the people that make the regulations for a very few. That's the complaints of a lot of Americans lately, is that rules and regulations are not being made for the general people. It's just made for the 1 percentile. So, you just have a few little buttons here about, your privacy, your data subject, and they want to create regulations around protecting your personal data. But sometimes regulations go deeper than that. And those are the things that we have to look into now when it comes to centralized exchanges and decentralized exchanges.
Absolutely. Now, let's take a look at some of the the big differences between these exchanges as we are describing here. So, first of all, we'll start with the decentralized exchange. Privacy and decentralization is definitely something that we want to be upfront and center as we move into this new generation, right? We see more and more predatory rules and regulation, like Double O mentioned already. So, decentralized exchanges, one advantages of using that is that, first of all, they do not store your Bitcoin. This is the main thing with a decentralized exchange. They do not store any of your funds. They do not store any of your cryptocurrencies. There is no customer service. So you do have to be more responsible with how you handle your business once you're dealing with a decentralized exchange, right? But we know that with decentralization comes high levels of security, right? And security is the biggest thing. We hear about hacks all the time. Not so much for truly decentralized entities, right? So like Bitcoin. In order to do that, I mean, we're talking about a 51% attack. The resources and time required to execute something like that is almost not worth it, right? We also know decentralized exchanges, you can operate on this anonymously, which speaks to that privacy, cannot be shut down by governments, right? So it cannot regulate this, and we are going to be able to maintain that freedom to trade between each other without the government watching over our shoulders. With that being said, and more along the lines of security, it's very unlikely that you'll be getting scammed by third-party, I guess, bad actors, if you will. But, it's not all good, right? There's also cons to everything. There's good and bad. We know that on the decentralized exchanges right now, there could be lower volumes than you will have in your typical centralized exchange, right? And that could also be speaking to adoption, which is also part of the importance of this video, and limited functionality. You may not have as many features, right, once you're using a decentralized application. But of course, we think this is, I mean, for me personally, I think, with the development rate going on, this could help that situation in the future. And of course, as I mentioned before, no customer support. So be responsible.
And on the centralized exchange, we have, for example, you have to trust your exchange to keep your keys and your cryptocurrencies for you, and trust whatever it is that they show you. I have to say though, recently it's been really difficult to figure out what I got in for and what I'm trying to sell it for. The exchanges don't make it easy for that.
That is true. Their tabulation is horrible, for sure.
Very, very terrible.
Yeah.
Which maybe regulations can solve. But back to the pros though. Very high trading volume, very easy to liquidate your position if you want to. That's one big advantage. And if you're trying to go from fiat to cryptocurrencies, it makes it super easy. Connect your bank, transfer your bank into the exchange, make your purchase. But guess what? It's not yours. It's kind of yours, but it's not yours because it's in their exchange. Or it's
yours
in the
being
blockchain.
held by someone who can take it away from you.
Yes, or we can take it away from you, or the government can come in there and seize it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is a big concern, right? So, let's talk about the disadvantages. You hear about it every day. On the Binance exchange, someone just got hacked, all the money is gone.
Right.
There's this big thing that, it's a good and bad. Know your customer. You want to know who's buying. But then that goes back to the definition of America. Do you really need to know that I'm the one buying and making the purchase? So KYC is a requirement on centralized exchanges. It's centrally managed. I just mentioned that earlier. Centrally managed also means that the government can say, you know what, here's a souvenir. You must give me that information. And boom, they have everything. The scam hasn't stopped. It's only March. Was it April now? And we only had $1 billion worth of scams in the space. So that's a major concern when it comes to centralized exchange. And you just have to consider it. You have to pick your pill. Which one do you want?
Which one do you want to go with? Absolutely. As people learn, as we learn, and as we grow in the crypto space, right? We continuously dig deeper into history, which is something that is very interesting, especially once you start diving really heavily into Bitcoin. And as you go further into history, you start understanding better and better what will happen into the future. But that's a video for another day. Let's give you some examples of some exchanges out there. We'll start with the decentralized exchanges. Now, of course, there are different angles that you can look at this from, but from a pure functionality standpoint and what it does, the way it operates peer-to-peer, we have decentralized exchanges here like Uniswap, PancakeSwap, and the rest of the list which you see here. Credit to CoinGecko, right, for this list here. It's definitely a great place where you can find some of these exchanges and explore them, learn more about them as well.
And on the centralized exchange aspect, would you believe that Binance is number one on the list? That is major, right? Absolutely. I'm actually glad to see OKCoin at number 2, which is quite interesting. And Git.io just left the US, so I'm not sure they're gonna keep that number for a while.
Yeah, absolutely.
And everyone's favorite Coinbase is number 7.
Yeah. Now you know these are the different sort of exchanges that are out there, right? So tell us which one seems like the best option for you. Which one are you using right now? Are there some advantages or disadvantages that we did not speak about? But for me, I think decentralization is the way to go. And I am working daily to slowly win myself off decentralized exchanges and just be fully decentralized. Double up.
Yeah, it's been really hard for me. But yeah, I need to make that transition as well. As a matter of fact, fully make the transition into hard wallets. Which then means I need to get a gun and the safe box and all the other expenses that come with it.
Pause. Did you say you have to get a gun because you're switching to a centralized wallet? To a cold wallet?
Yeah.
No, brother. You don't need a gun. You know why? Oh, actually, we cannot use this word on YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll carry on. This is why you don't need a. This is why you don't need a gun. Okay, because your secret key, right? Your secret phrase. Mm-hmm. You can memorize it. It can be in your head.
Sing
so
about
technically, they can steal your ledger.
A rap song.
You can put it in a rap song. You can do whatever you want to do it, right? You know what I mean? You can tattoo it. You know what I'm saying? But this means that if your ledger got stolen, unless they have your passphrase, they cannot access it. However, you can purchase a new ledger, restore your passphrase, and you have your keys again. You have your Bitcoins again.
Yeah, you
Isn't
just
that a beautiful thing?
Yes, sir.
It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. Listen, this thing takes away violence in the most insane way. And it's mind-blowing to me. I don't know how people can't see this, but we know that people on Stack Nation can definitely see what's happening here. So, ladies and gentlemen, let us know in the comment down below which exchanges do you prefer to use, and what are your thoughts on just going full decentralized exchanges? Any final thoughts, sir?
Hey man, this was a fun one. Thanks for liking and subscribing as usual.
Absolutely.
Check us out down there.
Always a fun one. Handles are down below, right? Do not forget to exactly. Do not forget to like, share, and subscribe the video. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, Brazen out.
00 out.